name is Sue and I work at the Whitby Public Library. Thank you for joining us for this recording of mindfulness, self-compassion, and well-being. This is the second in a series of 4 videos. 3 of the 4 weeks of these videos were added to our YouTube channel back in the summer. This week's recording was unable to be posted at that time, so when we reran the live programs in the fall, we retaped, and that is what is going to be posted now. That is this video. The reason I mention this is to make sure that you know the correct order in which to watch the complete 4-week series if you would like to do so. And that order would be week 1, followed by this video, which is week 1, part 2, followed by week 2, and then week 3. You're going to be guided in this series by Joan Hunt, who is a certified mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher. She has joined us in the library offering these sessions in person and has very kindly been offering them online since we switched to virtual programming. You'll find that the start times for the practices or exercises are noted at the beginning of the video, and that there's a card in the video at the beginning of the exercise. And that is so that if you want to go back at any time and just do the practices or exercises, you should be able to find those quickly within the video. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it off to Joan in the second week of the series, and thank you again for watching.
I am going to immediately start with a settling practice. And the intention is, as it says, for us to all settle together. So bringing awareness to this moment. Awareness of being supported by the chair. Noticing your feet planted on the floor. And noticing the whole of the pelvic, the buttocks, that whole area being supported by the seat of the chair. And really absorbing that right now. And inviting yourself to be quiet. And noticing what that's like. So perhaps, whatever the day has been like for you, we're now sort of moving towards the end of the day. And the invitation is to let the day go. Let whatever has arisen, whatever is there, just letting it slide away. And allowing yourself, sitting in the chair, just allowing yourself to be. No need to be doing anything. We don't need to be going anywhere other than inviting ourselves to be aware of whatever is arising in this moment. So let's follow the breath to allow the breath to help us stay steady. So following the breath, just as it is, following the breath as it's coming into the body, right to the very end of an inhale, and then following as the breath exhales. So the breath coming into the body, right to the very end. Tiny pause, and then following the breath as it starts to exhale, right to the very end. Yeah, so following, let the breath lead, you follow, and allowing it to help us to stabilize being here in this moment. And as you're doing that, perhaps you're noticing thoughts, maybe thoughts about the day. And just allow the thoughts to be there. We don't need to engage in them. Perhaps you're aware of how you're feeling in this moment. And again, it's a checking in. It's how are you? So what feelings are you aware of? And perhaps you're also aware of sensations in the body. That perhaps there might be a particular sensation that's calling to you. And again, we're holding whatever is coming up, whatever it is. We're holding that with care, with friendliness, with curiosity. And as best we can, trying not to judge it. Just allowing yourself to be. And perhaps again that the breath that might have receded a bit in the background. So again, just allowing yourself, you might want to follow the breath. That's often a steadying aspect of allowing ourselves to be. Again, this following the breath in, like waves in the ocean, following the breath out. Just staying with the breath. So you might get pulled away to something. That's okay. That's what happens. We're human. We've got lots going on, a lot, in fact. So we allow that. No need to judge. And very gently. It's always with a kindness, the way that you would treat another. Always with gently returning, in this case, to the breath, as it is. No need to be worried. There's no right or wrong. It's lovely. We're not doing anything in a specific way. We are simply breathing in and we're breathing out. And again, if we're pulled away, because our minds are busy, we acknowledge that, and then we gently come back. And we let ourselves know that in this moment, whatever arose, whatever it was, whatever it is, it's okay. Right now in this moment, it's all okay. So you want to end with, if you can, even perhaps a deeper breath. If you can, so we try to breathe, see if you can breathe a little bit more fully, maybe. If you can't, no worries, absolutely no worries. And at the sound of the bell, I'll ring it 3 times. And that allows, just allows for that bit of space. And in that space, you might want to form an intention. There's a reason that you're here tonight, a personal reason, a personal intention. And that intention might be helpful to connect with it and allow it to stay there, to connect with whatever practices we do over the next hour and a bit. And again, to remind you that when you have been in a practice, it's easy when it ends to jump into something. So it is to invite you to try to linger a little bit in that space and offer yourself a moment of reflection. Yeah. I am going to suggest there is somebody that I'm not sure if it's one or two or three people, is to try to mute yourself. And the mute button is typically on the lower left-hand part of your screen, if you can. So it's good that there are a few people that have joined us, and that's wonderful. So again, just extending a warm welcome to all of you. And yeah, tonight. So tonight I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do a very quick review, about 2 or 3 minutes on mindfulness, and that I went over last week. And I am also going to introduce you to the body scan, which is, I think I've said to you that I will each night do what I call a core formal practice. And most of the mindfulness-based programs that I've taught on always have the body scan. So I'll introduce you to that tonight. And I'll do a kindness practice at the end. Depending if you ask me anything, I will for sure talk about barriers. What makes it difficult to practice? And typically that's done at the beginning of any program, because there are difficulties that arise that make it hard for us to engage in a practice. So I'll talk about that briefly, and again I'll review them probably very briefly next week. So I will reiterate, because I think that one of you asked just before we started, that the recordings, the very first program in June, everything was recorded except for week 2. So on the YouTube channel at the library, you will find the recordings, which allows you to practice. If in fact you want to do that, you're welcome to do so. Yeah. So I was curious. Now Sue sort of did ask, but because a few people have joined, I wondered if anybody wanted to ask me anything from last week. I had suggested either practicing awareness of breathing, or I suggested an informal practice where something you do every day that you could try to do it mindfully. So I was curious about that, if you wanted to ask me anything about that. and I'll just give you a moment to do so. You can either ask me by unmuting, or you can put it in the chat. And usually,
Joan, I noticed in my yoga practice and some other fitness and wellness that they're all incorporating mindfulness.
yes.
Is it all the same thing? Is it all the same principle?
Yes, I would hope so. I would hope so. I mean, you can apply the mindfulness to absolutely everything you do. Everything. Driving a car, taking a shower, doing exercise. So it's yes. So the principles. I don't know how people have been trained. I think the difference is quite often people teach it that don't have a practice. And so, it's like a lot of things, isn't it? It depends on how the person is presenting it to you. But if they are presenting it well, then yes, it is about, which is interesting. I mean, this is really what I was going to talk about for 2 or 3 minutes. It's about knowing that you are knowing why you're doing something. So if you're moving your arm, if you're moving your hand, knowing that you are doing it. So I would say that that would be true. I mean, it's basically about training your attention, right, in a particular way. So it's all about training your attention in a particular way and cultivating an attitude of non-judgment. And the other attitudinal qualities are about not striving. So in yoga, that's kind of interesting, I think, right? Because sometimes you do strive in exercise. So you have to, again, knowing why you're practicing. Yeah. So, if you're doing a marathon, perhaps, I don't know, and you're in a training program, perhaps, I don't know, you might not. So you need to know when you're adjusting, when you're wanting to move and push ahead, and when in fact you want to pause and take stock or be present with it. And certainly it's about developing an attitude of compassion and friendliness towards yourself. Is that helpful? Is that Brenda?
Yes, definitely. Because I think you can be very critical of yourself when you can't do something, and it might lead you to stop doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas if you're mindful that what you want to take from it, I think it's a better approach.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so it's very interesting. If you're aware of some of your habits and you're aware of some of your patterns, then mindfulness is going to, if you're training yourself to be aware of what's happening in the moment, you start to be aware of how you're communicating, how you're coming across. Maybe you're going to be aware of your thoughts. You're going to be aware of what kinds of thoughts, and that's going to help you, if you do want to change, to start to make a change. So they have huge transformative potential, for sure. And I think you can do these things informally. I don't think it needs to be something that I think you can do things, having a cup of coffee, I think I said last week, or something that's pleasurable, doing your gardening, and not getting carried away by thoughts, but really focusing in the moment, present with whatever you're doing, right? Whether it's pruning or cutting the grass or some such thing. It's really about learning to come out of automatic pilot. And because we're a world, a society, especially in the Western world, that is always doing, and that's always a pressure to do, instead of just allowing ourselves to perhaps to be still, to be quiet. And I think that is a very powerful thing to be able to do. So so in any of the mindfulness work, And I did mention that mindfulness is heavily related to Buddhism, that one of their core practices is always learning to go to the body. So in our world, we are used to going to our thoughts. We are always looking at what is going on in our head. And our learning, so much of our learning is done through that. And so we learn about concepts, and we learn about principles, and we're, taking notes, and we're reading books and so on. So this is a very different form of learning, and it's really paying attention to your body. That is a hugely significant thing, because your body has got a great deal of information all the time, and we tend not to go to it except when we are sick, except when we are injured. And there's a reason we tend not to. I mean, I'm talking again in generalities, but typically we're not taught to do that. So the body scan that I am going to introduce you to in a few moments is about systematically going through your body, scanning the body, to do it systematically so that you don't miss out on any part. And it's a befriending practice. So that instead of always going to your head, which sometimes, let's face it, even as Brenda is saying, that, we can be hard on ourselves. We're constantly wanting things to be a certain way, or we've got demands, there's pressures, and sometimes we place many things on ourselves. So sometimes another route is to access our body and to find out how our body is. And, obviously, there are different ways of doing that. I mean, people get into Qigong, Tai Chi, where you're connecting with the breath, you're connecting with the body and the spirit. And these are all enormously valuable activities to do. So the body scan, it's also noticing and not doing anything. So we're not trying to fix anything in the body scan. We're simply going through it. We are noticing what is present, and we are learning to cultivate a befriending and, gentle attitude. And we may notice things. Typically, sometimes we have a tendency to say pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So we have a tendency to label, and that becomes also a key consequence, or something you notice as you're doing it. And the other is that it's, again, training ourselves. So it's training ourselves when we wander off, which we constantly do, and that's human. Our minds are constantly busy. They're constantly moving around. They want to kind of like fall somewhere. So we're trying to gather that. We're trying to always gather, and we're training it. So I'm introducing concentration practices. So awareness of breathing is the main one last week, and this one is the body scan. And so it's always about training, that can we come back to something, can we linger there for a while and then move on to something else, so that we're finding ways of training our attention. And there are enormous benefits to that, because a scattered mind, right? What is the famous statement? A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. I can't remember. I think that was a philosopher that said that, and it's true. But if we can tame it, a little bit onto certain things, and stay with that, then it's noticing how different that is. Yeah, for sure. The other thing I want to mention before doing it is, in the 4 weeks, I don't do. There's an exercise that is a very powerful exercise. It's called the raisin exercise, and it's about activating our senses. And I need to keep mentioning this because I remember the first couple of times I did it as a participant. So the raisin, right? You take a raisin and you try to like kind of empty your head of what, you know, the labeling and what you think it is and what comes up, and you try to look at it with the curiosity. And basically, you can get this on YouTube or the internet. It's a popular exercise, and we're trying to activate seeing, hearing. I know you don't hear a raisin, but nonetheless, hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, tasting. And these are all aspects in our experience that we tend not to pay attention to because we're so busy thinking. We're thinking about it as opposed to actually experiencing it. So I didn't decide to do it on this particular program. I thought it might be a bit awkward to do it, but I might. We'll see if the library continues with it, and I might insert it into it. But I would suggest that you each do it, because everything we do from our thinking, and we're trying to. Mindfulness is about, you know, our senses, about going to the body, and about activating other aspects that we tend to diminish. And perhaps an experience can be very different if, in fact, we are more aware of all of these other items. So let's do the body scan. You can do the body scan, again, moving to Zoom. I'm assuming that most of us are in a chair, and I'm going to give instructions for that. But a body scan, if we were in the library, I would get you all to lie down. And so I would say that if when you're at home, and again, you're interested in trying this, you would do it lying down. Yeah, okay. So bringing awareness to this moment. Reminding ourselves that the intention of the body scan is to befriend the body in a systematic way. In bringing curiosity, bringing as much as best we can, non-judgment to whatever arises. So placing our attention onto the belly. And you might want to put your hand on your belly. And as we're breathing in and breathing out, just noticing if you're breathing, if the belly is rising or the belly is falling. Sometimes it's easier when you're lying down to feel this, by the way. So I would encourage some experimentation. So we're just noticing the entire body in this moment, from the top of the head right to the very tip of your toes. And now we're moving our attention all the way down the right leg to the right foot. And perhaps we've got our socks or shoes on. So just feeling the toes, the sole, the upper part, the heel, Just feeling all of that on the right foot. Noticing if it's warm, cool. Maybe you might want to wiggle your toes. Maybe you're in a shoe. Maybe it's on the floor. So noticing whatever there is without any judgment. Now we're moving up to include the ankle of the right foot. Again, a sort of a tender part of the body. And now shifting our attention to include the lower part of the right leg, the calf, the shin bone, the sides. And again, this curiosity, bringing an attentive curiosity to how that is for you. If we're lying on the floor, sometimes you notice the muscle of the lower leg lying on the floor. And now expanding our awareness to include the knee, the kneecap, behind the knee, the sides of the knee. Again, it's a part of the body that gets used constantly. So bringing attention to what's there, what's calling your attention in this moment. Maybe it's pleasant, maybe it's unpleasant, maybe it's neutral. And now moving again, so we're leaving that area. We're placing our attention on the upper right thigh, big muscles, the hip joint on the right side. So again, the front, the back, the sides, and the hip joint, and noticing, what's that like? What does it feel like? So feeling whatever you're sensing. And if you've zoned out or, whatever, then you just note that you've zoned out and gently bring yourself back. So you're now moving your attention over the front of the lower abdomen, and you're going to move your attention all the way down to the left foot. And again, noticing what that's like. And you're going to place your attention on the left foot. And once more, depending if you're barefooted or you've got socks or something, footwear on, whatever. So noticing the layers. Maybe it's just skin on the floor, noticing that. Noticing the toes, the big toe, the different sizes of the toes, the spaces between the toes. Noticing the bones in the foot on the top. Noticing the sole, maybe the space on the sole and the heel. And holding that all in your mind's eye. Not needing to do anything. Again, this cultivating friendly awareness. Maybe it's hot, maybe it's cool. And now we're going to leave, we're going to move our attention. So it's always interesting. Sometimes we want to stay, keep our attention there. So we're going to invite ourselves to move our attention to the left foot, the ankle. And again, just noticing how it's slender, it's holds a lot of weight for sure. And again, gently observing. No need to judge. Now leaving the ankle and moving up to the left. Lower leg, the shin bone, the large muscle behind, the sides. It's always interesting to go below the skin, right? To go below the skin, to the muscle, to the bone, the joint. We really, really allowing ourselves to be with that. Now we're going to move our attention to include the knee, the kneecap, the front, the back, the sides. Holding it in our mind's eye. Are you noticing tingling, or are you noticing any kind of tightness or tension? And if so, can we hold it in awareness? And once more, leaving the knee and including the thigh. Again, large, huge muscles, front, back, and sides, and the left hip joint. And holding that in our mind's eye. Perhaps sitting on a chair, we can feel the muscle being held. Maybe the having contact with the chair and noticing that. So now we're coming to the whole of the lower abdomen and the pelvic area. Lots of organs are housed there, lots of spaces between the organs. And again, just gently allowing ourselves to notice. Notice any sensations. Are they pleasant, unpleasant? Are they neutral? And perhaps now going to the back, the whole of the buttocks. And noticing, again, perhaps being held by the seat of the chair. Noticing what that's like. Always with a friendliness, right? We're learning to befriend ourselves. Learning to notice. If we zone out, if we go off, we could always do a little bit of breath if you need to do that. So let's invite ourselves just to be with the breath for a moment. Breathing into the body, just as it is. Perfect in its imperfections. So now we're moving our attention back to the front of the torso, and we're going to go to the whole of the digestive system. Most of us hope maybe have had our dinner by now, but just noticing again, the abdomen, the digestive system, the moving up to the whole of the chest cavity, the lungs. Just lingering there for a moment. Sometimes the digestive, the stomach is a delicate area for some of us. So again, noticing what's there. No need to change anything right now. And now moving, so our attention is being shifted from there, inviting ourselves to move up into the whole of the chest and the heart area. Perhaps even noticing maybe a heartbeat or two. Maybe your chest is rising and falling. Often called the emotional seat of being human, the heart area. Always, if we zone out, we always have a choice about how we deal with that. So we can we come back to where we are in the scan, or we can just follow the breath for a moment or two, and that's fine. So we're leaving the front of the torso and we're going to the back. So we're going to the lower back and bringing into our field, into our mind's eye, the middle, the lower back, the middle and the upper. And just observing the whole of the skeletal, the backbone. Maybe some of us are leaning against the chair, maybe others are lying on the floor perhaps. And again, just feeling the contact, the solidness of that, whether a chair, self-supporting, or the floor. Perhaps observing the shoulder blades, again, an area of tightness. And noticing if the shoulder blades, if this tendency we have to sag, or just observing again with curiosity, what's that like? And now moving our attention to the shoulders, the front, the back, the top of the shoulders. Again, we have a tendency, I think, in our posture to curve the shoulders. So observing how the shoulders are in this moment, their joints, muscles. So now we're going to transition, and we're going to move our attention all the way down the right arm. So following the top of the right shoulder down to the elbow, noticing the fold of the elbow, muscles, again, bone joints, lower arm from the elbow to the wrist. Let's just linger there for a moment. The armpits, I forgot to include them. And again, embracing all that's there. Feeling what you're sensing. It might be tightness, it might be heat. There might not be anything. That's a feeling, neutrality. And now leaving the arm and going to the right hand. And again, the upper part of the right hand, the fingers, the spaces between the fingers, different shapes, different sizes of the fingers, the palm, perhaps observing if it's sweaty. Maybe it is, maybe it's cold. So friendly attention, now including the whole of the shoulder, the right arm and hand, wrist, the whole bit. Just again, keeping that in your mind's eye. Now moving our attention up, and we're going to move over across the back to the left shoulder, the left upper arm, the elbow, the fold in the elbow, the lower arm, the wrist. And again, this interest of this cultivating an interest in whatever is there in this moment. And to be interested, to be curious. And now extending your awareness to include the left hand, the top of the left hand, the thumb, the fingers, noticing the spaces, the palm, really feeling from the skin, below the skin, all of the joints and the muscles, the ligaments. So observing the whole of the left shoulder, arm, wrist, left hand, all of it. Now moving our attention up to the neck, the front of the neck, the throat really, the sides of the necks and of the neck, and the back. And perhaps, again, noticing how that is. There's generally sometimes tightness or tension, knots. So tenderly bringing your awareness to what's there. Then moving our attention, so leaving the neck and then moving up to the ears. The vehicle of how we hear, what we take in, how we absorb sound. Then moving up to include the top of the head, the brain, the skull, the forehead. Our hair. And now shifting to include the eyebrows, the eyes, inside and out, the nose, the cheeks, the jaw. Often an area of tremendous difficulty, or quite often discomfort, right? We store, so many emotions get reflected in our body. They get stored in our body sometimes. And so again, just noting this. So jaws, chin, teeth, gums, lips, the whole of the region of the face and the head. I mean, this is really where all of our sensory organs are. This is really, the world looks at us, right? And we see so much and hear, taste, the whole bit of our senses is all captured in our face. But you're just noticing that, and perhaps even just allowing a gentle smile. There's so many muscles in our face. Just sometimes we frown or we're tight and tense. Just letting go, maybe letting some warmth, allowing some tenderness to flow. So now we're moving our attention down the front of the torso, back to the belly. And we're going to breathe if we can. I mean, again, it is to offer. Give yourself permission. If you can breathe at the belly, you might want to put your hand there. That's great. And if you can't, no worries. So we're just going to breathe into the entire body, from the tip of your toes right to the top of your head. Just allowing ourselves to be with whatever we've noticed, whatever has called our attention to. So breathing into the entire body. You might even want to imagine, as we're coming close to the end of the practice. You might even want to, the liquid, the gold liquid, coming in through the head and just permeating through the entire body. Again, the systematic approach, not missing out on any part. Some parts may be difficult, some parts may be easy. So just allowing the gold liquid to permeate throughout the body. This breathing body. Perfect with its imperfections. And I'm going to read a poem. So we're still in the practice. You're still perhaps following your breath, or you maybe just gently sitting or being quiet. And it's called The Guest House, and it's by a poet called, well, he was a philosopher called Rumi, R-U-M-I. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably, as he or she may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So I'm just going to read it once more. It's a powerful, powerful poem. So it's called The Guest House, and it's saying that no matter what experience occurs in our life, it is an opportunity for change, for growth, for learning. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably, as he or she may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in, even a little bit. Maybe you might want to just, the door is just open ajar for something new. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So just allowing ourselves to linger just for a moment. And again, perhaps offering to yourself a reflection, right? Just taking a moment, right? This is about getting to know yourself. Just a moment of reflection. So if you have been, your eyes have been closed, or your eyes have, or you've been lying down, or perhaps sitting in a chair, you might want to give some reflections if you wanted to unmute yourself, or you wanted to use the chat. I'm going to pause for a moment and nobody has said anything. Okay. So Brenda has made a comment. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean about scratching the surface. I'm not sure what that means. You know, your experience is what you experience. I mean, that sounds a little bit like Brenda has mentioned something about that, you know, that she feels that she's scratching the surface with the body scan. And that, yeah, so I think that it is to experiment with it, Brenda. And I think that that each time you will do a practice, I think that it will be different. And I think that it's to be aware of your expectations for sure. And I think that that was your experience tonight, and to value that, and to note that, and perhaps as you practice these things, you might find that it's different. It will be different. Yeah. So. And, you know, maybe you don't need to get below the skin. It was just to, you know, you notice what you notice. So, yeah. You know, the important thing is to what calls your attention at that moment. That's what you're learning to value. And in fact, one of the things that prompts me to mention is that one of the difficulties that we all get into, including me, that can hinder practice, is that we hold on to expectations. And so, for instance, I recall many times wanting to, you know, feel quieter, or feel that I could let go, or I would be more relaxed. And I think that, you know, through practice, because that's really what it's about. It's about making a commitment to practice and valuing what emerges at that in that time. So yes, so somebody else has mentioned, Lisa, that can you do both sides of the body? Yes, you can. Yes, there's lots of different ways of doing it. Yeah. So you can do like your 2 feet, your 2 legs. Yeah. You can go up your body that way. Yeah. So you observed. Yeah. You observed. Yeah. So you observed that. Yeah, for sure. So you have said that to everyone. Okay. Yeah. Your knee was ticklish. Yeah. So that was probably pleasant. I don't know. The idea is to get to know yourself, and do that through the body, and it's another way of you being able to connect with yourself, rather than always doing it through how you think and how you feel. That will no doubt come into it anyway, but that again, it's a way of finding out how you are. So, for instance, I'm typically somebody that has a lot of issues with one side of my neck, and one shoulder, and one part of my upper back. So I know that, and so sometimes it's not so bad, and other times it is. So, you know, it's like getting to know certain things about yourself, and then what I do with that information is up to me. Yeah. Yeah. So if there isn't anybody else, it's hard for me to read the chat actually. So yeah. So the other thing that I want to chat for a few minutes about is about barriers to practice, and so one of them is about holding. You know, one of them is about you want something specific to happen, and to be aware of that. Because typically when we want something to happen, it sometimes doesn't happen, right? Because we're stuck. We're kind of fixed on getting something out of it. So that can be a bit of a problem. The other is that, am I doing it right? That's a common issue about, am I doing it right? So I give out instruction and something doesn't happen, and somebody then, it maybe then connects to, oh, you know, I didn't do it right or something. So I think it's to try to be aware that that's not the case, that we're really trying to encourage you to value and respect what is emerging. Sometimes people think that they have to have certain conditions to meditate. I always say that we can't go to retreat centers, but and sometimes our homes are quiet and sometimes they're not, and sometimes we can find some quiet spots if we work on it. So sometimes people work a little bit too hard. That's not helpful either. Sometimes people want things to be different. We get stuck on that. They want them to be in a certain way. So that can be a bit of an issue. Sometimes people get bored, so that's common. We do get bored. Sometimes it's good to ask yourself why you get bored, or how do you know that you're bored? Yeah. So I don't know if these are things that help. Sometimes physical pain gets in the way. Sometimes that's because we're thinking about the pain as opposed to just trying to kind of be or feel into that part of the distraction. And sometimes we get stuck on what we're thinking, right? We've got habits of thinking. So, yeah. So, is there any comments from that anybody would like to ask? Yeah. I think to practice is the key. It's when you're trying to develop a new habit, it's I think you can go through a number of different stages, and I think that it's to understand that I think finding the same time every day helps for that. I remember that vividly. That helps with developing a routine. It's sort of like, you get up in the morning and you do certain things. So developing a habit like meditating and developing a practice is like that. And it's, and it's like making a commitment to practice. Trying out, so maybe going to different workshops, or looking at different programs, trying apps. I'll go over that at the very, very end. And yeah, so but I think that commitment, being consistent, whether it's like 10 minutes every day, they're not clear. The research isn't clear about how long you have to meditate to get benefit. But what they are clear about is that you do it consistently. So if you've got 10 or 15 minutes and that's your commitment, then you will get benefit from that for sure, if you're going to do that 4 or 5 times in a week. And I'll maybe chat a little bit on the last night about neuroplasticity. So someone has asked a question about tips related to a deep night's rest, and so the body scan might be very interesting, right? So when we lie down, which is typically a position of rest and relaxation and sleep, when we lie down flat, some people have found the body scan to be very helpful in that regard. And so I would certainly try that. I think that because I've had sleep issues myself. I mean, most people I know have had sleep problems in the course of their life. And, I'm a great believer in routine, sleep hygiene. So I'm a great believer in not, I don't like to talk on the phone after 8:30, 9 o'clock. Maybe even 8 o'clock. So I really start a process where I'm thoughtful about choices like what I'm watching on the TV. That's what I've learned. What I watch on the TV. I don't listen to news at night. What I read, I want certain things that I like to read. So I start this process of really calming my central nervous system. That's what I'm doing. And I have really found that is an extraordinarily helpful thing. And we do it with kids. We do it with kids, and they have like a little bit of a playtime, or you try to quieten them, or encourage them to do sort of quieter things, and you might read to them, and they go to bed at a certain time. And those are the aspects that I think as an adult that we forget about. I mean, most adults sometimes start to I jack up their system because it's the only time, right, that they have, like at 8 o'clock or something. That, I mean, trust me, when I was working full time, I did lots of things like that. So, but I've learned that's not helpful. And listening to certain types of music at night is very calming. So I want to try to go to my parasympathetic branch. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to quieten and calm it. And that is much more conducive to a good night's sleep. The other thing that I would add is the breath work. Yeah, I would add breath work. Yeah. So again, I'll do a relaxing breath next week, and I was going to do that. I'll maybe try and do it even now, perhaps when I go into the kindness practice. But so a relaxing breath. Relaxing breathing is when you emphasize the exhaling breath. So you want to find breath exercises that are going to release. They're going to get those toxins out of your body, and this is a good thing. So anything so you're going to breathe in maybe for 4, and you're going to breathe out for 8, and to do that on a regular basis. And I like to do that. Yeah, I like to do that. Try to calm. It's like counting to 10. When people get agitated and worked up, and you say to them, okay, try to sort of just quieten yourself. And so those are aspects. I mean, what you're eating, what you're drinking, I know that those have been around forever, but they're still very, very, research-wise, these are all solid findings about trying to quieten ourselves. And it can be challenging. Yeah, it can be challenging for sure. So I wonder, hopefully I have answered some of your questions. The last thing I'll say about that is about sometimes people like to do like a kindness practice at night, a gratitude practice. Like sometimes I do gratitude work. What am I grateful for in the day? Yeah. Sometimes I wake up and do that. I mean, these are not big deals, by the way. It sounds like as though, oh my goodness, what you're doing is spending a lot of time, but it's not. It's these are aspects that, in terms of doing this program, these can be very simplistic aspects of living. It is simply making a commitment or remembering to do them. The other thing I was going to do was visualizations. Like sometimes people put on sort of quiet music, calming music. And you can look up for that. You'll get that information on the internet, and maybe doing some visualizations. Some people like that, and others don't. And again, yeah. So it's finding some activities that invite some letting go. Right, the day has gone. Okay, this is time for me to rest. I need to let go. I need to replenish. I need to restore, and I mean, it's why I'm assuming most of you are here. that you've got an intention of looking after yourselves, and that's I'm here for those reasons too. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so our last practice for tonight is to do a kindness practice. So I'm going to introduce you to a straw breath, and so straw breathing is a very popular breath. That is what I have found out. And it's as simple as this. I'm going to sort of just try. I don't know if I can talk and do it, but I'll try. Okay, I'm going to breathe in through my nostrils for 4. And then I'm going to breathe out for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or if you can't do 8, try to do 6. So I'm going to do 3 of them, and hopefully you'll all join me. I don't see anybody's face anymore, so I'm just going to I'm going to talk. And so breathing in for 4, and then purse your lips like a straw. 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're breathing in for 4. Purse the lips like you're blowing through a straw. You may even want to make a noise. Out for 6 or for 8. Okay, let me do it again. Breathing in, 4, then breathing out, pursing your lips, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. And to do that 3 or 4 times. And to do that at different times. Like invite a pause and go to the breath. And just even if you're breathing in calm, and then you're breathing out peace. Something like that. These are words that kind of facilitate, right, a state of mind. And it's very simple. I mean, I sometimes do it in the car. I sometimes do it when I'm waiting on someone. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Thanks, Brenda, for coming on, by the way. That's good. I've got a fellow face. So I'm going to do a small kindness practice, and similarly to the last time, and then I'll just speak for another 2 minutes. Yeah. When the bells go, by the way, typically that's you. That's just sort of gathering your attention, and sometimes people do that. And it's also about maybe even listening to the bell. I mean, through Zoom, or this is not Zoom, this is WebEx, but it doesn't come across in the same way, but you get the idea. Here we go. So you're receiving the sound. So feeling the support of the seat. Or if you're on a cushion, the support of sitting on the cushion. Just allowing yourself to absorb the seat. The support from the seat, I meant to say. And again, following the breath, right? The breath helps to stabilize us. So following the breath, even if it's a straw breath, straw breathing, or counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. It's something that helps you to, concentrate on something that can anchor and ground you. And that we need that right now, because COVID-19 is, it's our mental health. We need to also protect our mental health. And again, just as a lead-in, that we're cultivating a tender heart, and we're doing that for ourselves. This is a very important part of resilience, that we cultivate for ourselves a tender heart. The human heart, I think, it's extraordinary, the potential it has to transform, some of our difficulties right now in our community, and our anxieties, our stress. So the heart is often an area of truth in our life, going to our heart. So just sitting in a centered and in a quiet way, just breathing softly, feeling your body, feeling your heart, feeling the life that's within you. And we can always go, if we go off on a little wandering, always remember it's okay. A wandering mind is common. And we simply know what to do. We bring it back. So after a moment or two, bring to mind someone close to whom you dearly love. And feel how your heart opens to wish them well, to extend comfort, to meet them with compassion. After all, is this not the natural response of the heart? And saying to this person that you have chosen, may you be held in compassion. May you be held in compassion. And may you be free from pain and sorrow. Breathing that in. May you be free from pain and sorrow. And may you be at peace. I'm just lingering there for a moment, breathing these. May you be held in compassion. May you be free from pain and sorrow, and may you be at peace. And now, turning your heart towards yourself. Your compassionate heart towards yourself. And while this may be unfamiliar to you, may seem strange, even if there's a little bit of a little piece of your heart, or it's a possibility. So you work with it in a skillful way. And may you be held. So may you be held. So may I be held. I'm sorry. May I be held in compassion. And may I hold myself in compassion. And may I be free from pain and sorrow. And may I be at peace. So we're tendering our heart. The truth often comes from our heart. May I be held in compassion. May I be free from pain and sorrow. And may I be at peace. And now we're going to open our compassion further. And we're going to extend it to our group tonight. We're extending it to all of our friends, neighbours, and to our communities. Difficult people, people that are suffering. May you all be held in compassion. May you all be held in compassion. May you all be free from pain and sorrow. May you all be free. May you all be free from pain and sorrow, and may you all be at peace. So we breathe this in, opening a little bit of our heart, if not all of our heart, to really our group and to whoever you would like to include. Maybe one person, maybe several. And we close our session tonight by an offer of gratitude to each of us. Gratitude for making the effort, for showing up, for opening yourselves to learning, being open to share. People have shared on the chat screen, and thank you for that. And makes for a richer experience. And I thank you. And I hope that you offer gratitude and thank yourselves. And I hope that you're here next week. And if you're not and we see you the following week, that's all good too. Whatever works. So may you all be held in compassion. May you all be free from pain and sorrow. And may you all be at peace until we meet again. So please be safe.